Last episode.
It's the motherfucking player haters. Oh, yeah.
Last episode. All right, here it is, the much awaited and anticipated last episode of Player Haters Ball. Sorry I didn't get around to it yesterday. I had other things called life. Yesterday was a pretty stressful day in the world of sports, or impactful, but yeah, overall stressful too. I mean, fucking Braves definitely made it interesting. The Mets were not about to lose again by one game, so they made damn sure that they would expose even more the weakness that is Atlanta's bullpen. Atlanta will play tonight. Crazy to think that they brung up AJ Smith Shaver. Crazy, right? I know, for a playoff game and a wild card game, best of three. But whatever. Mets are winning right now against the Brewers, 8-4. Detroit, watch out for Detroit, man. They took out Houston and Kansas City, 1-0. So one more game. Thankfully, baseball was sweet enough to the Braves to allow them some time to recuperate from yesterday's doubleheader. And the Mets picked up right where game one left off, 8-4. Ninth place, signed, sealed, and delivered. How about it? Go, Brian. Way to go, man. Welcome to the league. 6-5. Took every single one of the pitching stats. It was not at all easy, when you look at it, but you got 6 wins, 3 quality starts. Neither one of you guys could decide if y'all wanted to get a save plus hold. No big deal. Mandalorians, his offense finally came to a screeching halt with 2 home runs. That was it. One from Juan Soto, one from Paul Goldschmidt, who's probably not going to be a Cardinal next year. Jackson Churio slowed down, Manny Machado slowed down, and Wilson Contreras slowed down. And with that, Brian took 9th place. Congratulations, Brian. Regardless of like the placing, you were really one of the best players in terms of, just trades and dialogue. And that's what I know that the league has always really wanted, is people to be more contributing towards the league itself. And I know that they're happy to have you. So welcome aboard. It's only going to get better from here, So cheers. Nick took down Jesus for 7th place, 8-3. This one was a little bit closer of a matchup, definitely in the batting stats, but ultimately Nick, who just really, honestly, Nick probably should have been in the playoffs more than, probably even my team, but it all comes down to everything that gets settled in the regular season, and it is what it is. But Nick just going to send off that Franklin and receive a can of beans. So regardless of how his season went, he still walks away with a nice coveted trophy. The can of beans should be on its way. I don't have it. Walker has it. But yeah, I don't know if you've exchanged, Mr. Nick, your information. But yeah, send that on down the line, sir. You don't obviously have to put that in the chat, but if you want to send it to me, I may have it, but it probably was on an old phone because you've had that thing for 2 years now. So yeah. Again, I'll pay for the shipping and handling, no problem. just we'll get it down here and we'll get it to the right people. Um, but yeah, Nick took down Jesus. This was a good matchup, man. Again, Jesus really, I know that the league really appreciated you being here, and you had a good team, and just wasn't enough for you to projectile yourself into the playoffs. But again, another person that is contributing towards the dialogue and towards the trades and making yourself accessible. That's what makes it fun in fantasy, and definitely I know that the league will look forward to having you back next year. Let's get into Ray and Josh's. This one was pretty much signed, sealed, and delivered. Ray's offense kind of just like tapered off after last week. I mean, she was, knocking home runs out of the park, but apparently everything just came to a screeching halt for her. She got one home run from Ramos, one from Buxton, and one from Will Smith. Nothing from Walker. I love the woman, how she went out there and grabbed up Jose Iglesias for the last doubleheader of the season and got a stolen base from his ass and ended up basically separating herself. I don't know if it was 5-6, but she got one more and, definitely made it interesting. And she either stole OBP or it helped solidify her OBP. So go Ray. But yeah, Josh had a potent offense, and Josh mentioned it last week. If he would have put up the numbers in the championship game, he probably would have walked away with the victory. But ultimately, Josh, undeniably is third place, and he did so with an astounding pitching performance. 62 strikeouts, 4 wins. Josh is always, one to have some good pitching stats for sure. But unfortunately, Ray just didn't have any of the offense that she needed to try to compete and walked away with just the save plus holds and the ERA. It was very close in that one and was able to grab the stolen bases and OBP. So, yeah, those were your week 25 matchups. We got to see 2 other ones get finalized before last week. So to recap, Eric ended up taking 11th place, and I believe it was Walker ended up taking 5th place, and then Ray is 4th. Sorry. Rally Monkeys was 5th. Jason was 6th. Ray was 4th. Josh is 3rd. And that about wraps it up for the consolation championship, all that jazz. And yeah, um, pretty sure it'll be an interesting playoffs. Sorry, I was looking at something. Um, for the majors. And yeah, I hope you guys all really appreciate and enjoy the league. And yeah. Yeah. So Oh, my bad, guys. I must have forgotten one. Sorry. I got to mention the other matchup, the one that was played as well. But before I do, I want to go back into one little thing. I know I'm beating a dead horse here, but I just feel like it does deserve mentioning one more time. When I find it, I'll mention it. But let's see what we got here. So, back on June 18th, wow, it's crazy to think that, June 18th was when this was made. A trade involving Kenley Jansen, Matt Olson, Jordan Hicks for Edwin Diaz and Shohei Ohtani. Now, I had to dig deep back into my brain. A lot of trades, a lot of discussion, a lot of talk has always been made up to this point about trades and their equality, if you will. And I myself have been one that this conversation has always been the butt of. Myself and my wife, we always seem to have questionable trades. One was even brought up just a few trades. Well, I wouldn't say few trades before, but early on in the season, one trade was brought up when Yordan Alvarez was traded away for a Jurickson profile. I believe it was just a 1v1 trade. I don't exactly. No, Ranger Suarez and Jurickson Profar were traded for Yordan Alvarez. Now, at the time, Ranger was doing very well, and I believe he still was ranked fairly high. Now, he saw a little injury, but Jurickson Profar ended the season ranked 20th, and Yordan Alvarez ranked right at 14th. But definitely, in my opinion, a fair trade. And Yordan ended up getting bounced around, but I digress. Back on June 18th, when this such trade was made, there was a very large conversation that was had around this trade leading up to its approval because, well, quite frankly, you were dealing with a player that is ranked in the top 5 and quite honestly is probably the number one, he is to this day, baseball player. And he was traded away for a first baseman that at the time was ranked very low. I believe I'm the one that drafted him and just needed to get him off of my team. But then again, I may not have drafted him. It may have actually been Shane now that I think about it. But regardless, Kenley Jansen, a relief pitcher for Boston, has found his way to the injured list. He's been out indefinitely towards the end of the season. And Jordan Hicks, a player that, at the time might have been okay, but he's also found his way to the injured list. So back in my day of dealing with the trade talks, there was one discussion that was made, and that was you had to have a can't cut list player for a can't cut list player. I remember this dialogue very specifically being used. Now, in all honesty, it also feels like that dialogue has dissipated, and it's just been up to the masses to decide whether or not a trade is actually, in fact, equal in its sum of parts. Well, I've mentioned it before, and I won't go too much into detail because, quite frankly, well, we'll get into that last part here in a minute. But this was a questionable trade at the time. It raised a few eyebrows, mine included, and it proceeded to go on. Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani on the same team, accompanied with Bryce Harper. Corbin Carroll later joined that fray, if you will. Corbin Carroll was the rookie of the year last year. Now, granted, he did not live up to the hype. Had he lived up to the hype earlier on in the season, he probably wouldn't have left my roster. And he left another person's roster as well, the former owner of Bryce Harper. But I had mentioned it numerous times throughout the season that in no way, shape, or form, and I know Shane was just blowing smoke up his own ass and everyone else's, that he thought that my roster was definitely able to hold a candle to his. Obviously, I disagreed with that wholeheartedly. He has one of the best catchers that we've seen in baseball on his roster. Now, granted, he's not really lived up to the hype as much. And Yanir Diaz at the end of the season will be ranked higher than him. Josh Naylor is in no way, shape, or form going to hold a candlestick to Bryce Harper, but he did hold his own weight, if you will, in being ranked 57th. Bryce Harper obviously is in the top 25. Now, probably one of the best second basemen that we have right now in the game is Ketel Marte. Jose Altuve is not anything to bat an eye at. He still has maintained a strong top 40 player. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. at third base is probably the best baseball player that I had on my team. But again, this was in no way, shape, or form a roster that was offensively going to be able to match. Now, you look at the previous interactions that we had, and it was really just basically an off week for Aaron Judge and Aaron Judge and Bryce Harper at the time. But if I remember correctly, they weren't bad offensive weeks for Shane. Now, I need to back up and actually look at said offenses. Now, and again, if I also remember correctly, Shane didn't have Shohei Ohtani the first week that we faced each other, which was back in week 10. This was his actual roster that he did have in week 10, and which one he actually beat me in RBIs and home runs, average, and OBP. I beat him 6-4 simply because I had more runs, stolen bases, and I squeaked by with one win. But we both had a very high ERA and whip that week. We both tied in strikeouts. But names that he had on his roster at that time: Christian Yelich, Nick Castellanos, Jonah Heim, Miguel Garcia, Nolan Gorman, Oswaldo Cabrera, Matt Olson, Corey Seager. Also, he had Jose Altuve, Bryce Harper, and Aaron Judge. I myself had Ketel Marte, Brent Rooker, Anthony Volpe, such names like Austin Riley, Jordan Westberg. Jaron Duran had a big week for me that week. Freddie Freeman was on my team briefly that time. But again, at that time, not the same roster that I faced in the championship. When you move forward to obviously, which would have been week, I'm assuming it's going to be week 20. Makes sense that it'd be week 20. But let's call it week 21. Very different roster. But Trippin Billies yet again defeated me in home runs, defeated me in OBP. It was very close in average, but he destroyed me in runs by 12. Again, this time he had Corbin Carroll and Shohei Ohtani, who carried the big offense of his team. But again, pitching stats were marginally close. One quality start, one win, 2 strikeouts, 2 save plus holds. It was the ERA and the whip that was the deciding factor to allow me to take the every pitching category, if you will. But again, even the average was very close. So the score 8-3 did not really give the full picture of what could have been. So, knowing what I knew about the previous two matchups, I didn't have a chance in hell to stand up to him, even with my previous week of 15 home runs, which again, each and every home run still struggled to compete with Ray and her offense because there was nobody on base every time. We saw Aaron Judge do 3 home runs, 6 RBIs. Corbin Carroll, home run, 3 stolen bases. But again, Shohei Ohtani, 6 runs, 1 home run, 7 RBIs, and 4 stolen bases. I didn't have a chance in hell against just those 3 people. And of course, Jake Berger decided that he loved hitting as well. But 6 home runs from Shohei Ohtani. He would have won that. Home runs, he won every time. 7 RBIs. I mean, I lost by 9 RBIs. But 7 came from Shohei Ohtani. 4 stolen bases for him. His average of 520 and OBP of 571. Unmatched. And why the Dodgers kept playing him? Well, it was just for him to try to chase history so he could get 60 stolen bases, which he fell 1 shy of. Now, I assume, if I'm remembering correctly, that the rule of trading one player that is of that high caliber needed to be equally matched when trading for another player. In no way, shape, or form was Shohei Ohtani at all going to be matched by Matt Olson. His production, his value was not even that close to the top first baseman in our league. Not that, when you think about first baseman and outfielder, they're obviously 2 different positions, but to finalize and to end the season, sorry, I'm pulling this up right now. Went to the wrong one. Sorry, people. I know that was dead air. Nobody likes that. So, of your top first basemen, Vladimir Guerrero, Bryce Harper, Freddie Freeman, Anthony Santander, Josh Naylor, Pete Alonso, then Matt Olson. Matt Olson is ranked 71st, and that's in all hitters. 71st. And again, I couldn't tell you, what he was ranked at the time. Of the batters, Shohei Ohtani, Aaron Judge, they're your top 2. They don't get there because, whatever. The stupid-ass Diamondbacks benched Ketel Marte once during our matchup like a bunch of fucking idiots, and then they want to complain, the owner did today, about the whole thing with Roger Goodell and the commissioner of baseball, I forget his fucking name. But anyways, yeah. I have mentioned it, made comments about it, referred back to, and quite honestly, that trade was the biggest fucking bullshit trade in a long time. And I don't have a problem giving that title over to Shane, because Shane will even say he drafted the way that he did. Well, to draft your team, I feel like I've experienced this before with Walker, where he's drafted certain players that he know other players would much rather have on their team. Makes perfect sense. You cater to somebody's ego and their desire to have a certain player. We've all seen it. Eric loves him some Bryce Harper. He's always had a man crush on him. So it's made sense that, he drafted him. He wasn't doing very well, or he did, and he came back off the DL. I forget the whole story with Bryce Harper this season. It's been a long season. But hands down, that to me was a big fucking bullshit trade. And I've said it. But regardless, my team did not do what it needed to do. And quite honestly, I appreciate 100% the fact that Shane acknowledged that I was, at the time, it looked like going to miss out on some pitching stats, and then it ended up not being that way. And then it ended up being that way even the Monday, because Chris Sale ultimately did not pitch. Charlie Morton did pitch, and he barely would have gotten me across the threshold because he only pitched 4.1. I thought it was a swell move for you to leave in Diaz. I mean, you got the win from him, but I mean, I was under the understanding that it probably was going to be like a gentleman's agreement that fantasy baseball ended for us on Sunday. It didn't pan out that way. You left him in, not a big deal, but I mean, you won 9-3 versus 8-3 or something. So whatever. I mean, it is what it is. But regardless, the matchup fell the way that it did. I didn't have a chance in hell. He had an off week, if you will, in terms of his offensive numbers of home runs, but not in stolen bases. That's why I went and picked up the one guy that over the course of the past month had been able to somewhat stay in stride with Shohei Ohtani and stolen bases, because I was thinking if I could pull at least one of the batting categories, maybe I would have a chance with the pitching categories. I didn't stand a fucking chance. And it is what it is. It fell the way that it did. It didn't go the way that, I would have liked it to. But again, for anyone to say differently, that is not one of the strongest offenses to look at when you have the two best offensive players on your team, and then you start to add in Harper, Altuve, Corbin Carroll. I question your sanity. Really. That's all I can really do is just question, do you even watch baseball? So, having said that, all of that, congratulations, Shane. You earned it. You got it. You traded, you drafted, I guess, your way to this sort of championship, and good job. You did it. It is what it is, man. But regardless, what happens during the regular season, it ultimately came down to, and I didn't even look, but I think Josh would have had a much better shot at you last week. It looked like he might have even taken it. So again, it's a week to week basis, but yeah, I knew every breath that was spoken where it was, Casey's offense is good. I knew it was just you trying to, blow smoke up my ass or yours or something. I don't know. So, but yeah, real quick, I'll leave you guys with this because I got like 50 seconds. The wife and I, we have talked about it, and I know that this is kind of like what the fuck. This is going to be our last season for a while of playing fantasy. Figure it's probably best now to go ahead and get that out because the positions, if you guys need to, will want to be filled. It's been fun. It's definitely, it brought me back to loving baseball a long time ago when Chris asked me to play. But just need to take a little hiatus away from it. So maybe if two positions are needed later in life, I'll see what you guys got in store. But I know that Ray and I will both be calling it a quits as of now. Stupid thing. I don't understand why it only lets me record for 30 minutes flat. There's not a way for me to like increase that. But anyways, I didn't want to leave it just like that. But yeah, the wife and I, we talked about it. We have been talking about it, by the way, just so you both, so everyone does know. Um, in a, I said it a couple weeks ago. In grand, the big picture, my adoration for sports is really starting to shift. Um, I appreciate going to baseball games, but it's because it's something that my wife and I we enjoy going to. I enjoy going them with friends as well. If you guys ever want to, tag along or something, but we did set out a few years back to try to. Which reminds me, I need to scratch off Miami because we went to the Miami Stadium and got to scratch off that little doodad there. But yeah, my love and feel for sports. I work for the sports talk radio station here, 1010. I don't listen anymore. I'm tired of the narratives. I'm tired of hearing them bitch about the same shit every day. 7, 8, 9, 10 shows. It's nauseating. The Jacksonville Jaguars suck. They've sucked for years. They suck more than they've ever sucked before, and they're supposed to be better than they've ever, and then the one of the biggest things is I'm just not in the right mind right now when it's coming to everything that's dealing with the finances around sports. I don't agree with all these astronomical contracts and you pay somebody $270 million and $75 million to not do anything. I mean, like it's just it blows my mind, all these contracts. Now I was obviously referring to Trevor Lawrence's contract, but paying somebody just millions of dollars. That's a real word. Millions of dollars to entertain has really gotten to me. Like I am, I'm a struggling individual that's trying to make ends meet for my own family, and we have to try to cut corners and try to find ways that we can just simply do the simplest of things, and then trying to go to something as extravagant as going to a baseball game in Miami where we even had to go like on a budget where we could not exceed a certain limit. It's nauseating. And then you think about, oh, well, now you know what? Let's pay college students who not only get a scholarship to go to the school for free, but they also are now going to get paid. I don't have a problem with you getting paid for your name, image, and likeness. I have a problem with you getting thrown millions of dollars to go there. I don't care which player you are. I don't care what you do. That's not worth it to me. And now there's other schools, look it up. Tennessee Volunteers are the first one to do it. They're charging their fans 10% of the ticket cost to enter into their stadium to watch these people play. It's just not fun to think about anymore. It's not fun to wrap my head around. It's not fun to have a discussion about, in my opinion, because it makes me sick. It makes me sick to my stomach. And quite honestly, if I'm being sincere, I've grown kind of tired of the dialogue that is, and it's been fun. It's always obviously I apologize, Eric Walker, for the fuck you, Chris. That was fun. I don't think it really went, but just it seems like I've been the butt of the jokes and the commentation and everything for the last few seasons more so than you, Walker, and it's fine. I mean, I enjoy the camaraderie and that, but it's just, it like, we did the trade limits because of you, and we've done this because of you, and we've made this because of you. And then it feels like that this previous this season, man, like really, like y'all want to sit there and point a finger at me, and you like, okay, man, okay, okay. I mean, maybe it was just his plot to stick it to me over all these years, but I've never won it. So it's not like, and we have no money on the line. There's no stakes really other than bragging rights. But to sit there and to just openly say that was fair, it wasn't fair on June 18th, and it wasn't fair at the end of the season. It's just not, it wasn't a fair trade at all. But it's like when you go back into the logs that were throughout our league, all the insults and the ridicule that I have been about trades that I've made. And it's like, really, that one right there. I mean, he's literally the best player in baseball. He's a two-way player, and he got traded for Matt Olson and two relief pitchers, or a pitcher that for the, I mean, again, it is what it is. Elias Diaz is also not anybody to shake your fucking hand at, like to say, oh, you're not that good. The bitch got injured. He was probably one of the best relief pitchers in the game. But whatever, man. I mean, it is what it is. But again, the wife and I, we talked about it. I did not sway her one way or the other. I said, look, this is my plan. I'm thinking win, lose, or draw. I'm going to back out of the season this year, take maybe a couple of years away from it, just enjoy the game of baseball that is the game of baseball with my fandom. Because, even yesterday, riding around and listening to the damn, it's 7-6 in the top of the ninth. Fucking close it out, Pierce Johnson. 3 fucking outs and let's go. No. And then you put us into the damn Garrett Holmes. I mean, I think maybe it's because, Ray and I went and watched that game in Miami, and he pitched that one that, we're his good luck charm, because it went from Chris Sale to Garrett Holmes. It was like if you were watching a fucking porn and you got that one dude that, throughout the 80s had the biggest fucking schlong, and he called out sick, and then you called up Rick Dobson. Okay? It's like you got Big Dick McGee or Rick Dobson on the line. Which one you going with? This one or Tweezer Dicks? Okay? Because my dad owns Tweezer Dicks rights. I'm Tweezer Dicks Jr. What is that? Tweezer Dick TDJ Jr. Yeah. What was that? Ron Jeremy. That's his name. Ron Jeremy. You got Ron Jeremy out there slinging pipe, and then you got my dad, fucking slinging eyelash hair. So, but yeah, figured no time like the present. Go ahead and let you guys know. Co-commish, we're out. I've enjoyed it. It's been fun. This little thing I have right here has been fun. Putting this together. I hope that you guys have enjoyed it throughout the seasons. I tried to entertain. I know I come into you guys' house or, your lives, and you give up, 30 to 40 minutes of, your listening time, and hear me bitch and complain and moan and gripe and talk about this and talk about that. And, it's been fun. I appreciate you guys' loyalty to that, and it makes it worth it, and it has made it worth it. But probably just time for this old dog to step aside, let you guys enjoy. Yeah. So that's all I got. Cheers to you guys. I think that's it. I think that's all I got. Oh man, rest in peace, Pete Rose, man. I still think that he should be in. He should have gotten in when he was alive, but baseball's funky that way. And then Matumbo, damn, 58. That's way too young. When you start to think about the fact that I'm fitting to turn 40 and that dude's, only got 18 years on me. Holy shit. Holy shit. Life's a fragile thing, boys and girl. I think that's it. Hope everybody made it safely through the hurricane. Looks like we got another one coming pretty damn close to us in Kirk. So, trying to think, make sure I don't leave anything untouched. That's it. All right, guys. Have a good night.
It's the motherfucker.